Alrighty, I'd like to welcome you all here this evening. Tonight is June 10th, 2024. This is a special select board meeting. The time is currently 6:19. We're a little bit behind here, so we will try to catch up. Just letting you know, this is also going to be a joint advisory meeting with the select board, and that meeting starts at 7 o'clock, and that is a separate Zoom meeting ID for all of you. I will not be doing chair comments this evening, and I'd like to bring this meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to open the meeting for June 10th.
Thank you. I'd like to invite everybody to join me with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So I'd also like to make you aware that there will be no executive session this evening. And as I mentioned prior, that the select board will not be adjourning their meeting, but instead will be moving to the joint meeting with the advisory board in preparation for the June 24th special town meeting, and will adjourn from the meeting at its conclusion. Okay, so as I mentioned, I will not be having comments this evening, and the TA has also
No comment.
no comments as well. So we are going to get right into it. So this evening, we have a discussion and vote to approve funds transfer for the Marshfield Police Department, and I'd like to ask Michael to read us in on that.
So this is very simple. Actually, the police chief and the captain are here. As folks know, it's special town meeting with free cash. We appropriated $250,000 for the school resource officers that went into the police account. It really needs to go into the school resource officers funding line item. So they're asking the Board of Selectmen to approve that transfer, and they'll also be going and having the advisory board approve that transfer also.
So it's like a Scrivener?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And I will just...
And the reason, Madam Chair, for that
Yes.
is that the money will, if it stays where it is now, then it rolls to free cash on June, at the end
Yeah.
of the fiscal year. This way here, it stays and can be used to pay for the resource officers.
Okay, so I'd like to just read this into the record. And this is from our Chief Tavares and to the Select Board and Advisory Board. And this is the SRO granting funding, and that means the School Resource Grant, for those of you that don't know that acronym. At special town meeting, the Police Department requested $250,000 to fund our 3 SRO positions. The officers have been paid out of a federal matching grant for the past 3 years. At our special town meeting, the transfer account was 012-10510. That was where the Scrivener was. -511010. And the account should have been 1005-5110-511010. So the last 6 digits were correct. It's just the beginning. And that is the school resource grant account. I request both the Select Board and Advisory Board to vote on this transfer Monday, June 10th, 2024, and I request both boards vote at their scheduled individual meetings prior to the joint meeting. Without the correction, the Marshfield Police Department will not have the funds to pay the SROs the next fiscal year. Thank you for your time concerning this matter. Chief Philip Tavares. So, I have no problem with this at all, and if you would like to add anything, feel free, and I know the chief is here as well.
Sure, yeah, I think it's really important for our police department to build genuine connections with our community and our students, and that just has a lot of positive ripple effects for our community. And then, for those reasons, I would support it, and I'd hate to see this program go away.
Chief, would you like to add something on how important this is to your department? I know how how much we cherish them being there, but, or at least I do.
Yes, we've had an officer in the schools for over 30 years. Started with one officer, then two officers, and then one officer, and now three officers.
Yeah,
There's nothing more important than safety and security, to provide a safe learning environment, and build that relationship with the children when they're young, and let them know that we're there to help them, we're the good guys, and they can come to us and feel comfortable talking to us. So it's a very important program, you know, primarily the safety and security piece, because, you know, we've read enough stuff about bad things that can happen.
right.
I think they're role models. They've done a great job. They go to the plays, they go to sporting events, they go to graduations, they go to parent-teacher nights. They're highly involved, and they do a great job, and I'd like to continue.
Okay, thank you for that input.
You're welcome.
Would you have anything to add? All righty. So I'd like to make a motion to move to correct the transfer of the school resource officers' funding in the amount of $250,000 that they received at the special town meeting in the spring to the school resource grant account from the police budget to allow the SROs to be paid in fiscal year '25. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. A roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the transfer.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
How would you feel about taking number 7 out of order?
I have no problem with that. I think there's a few people here. Would you like to ask them to come forward?
Yes,
Since you
please.
made that- Okay,
Yep, that's perfect, yeah.
yeah, come forward. So this is a discussion and vote on the application of outdoor table service pursuant of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3B, and this is the jetty. We also have town council here this evening if we have any other further questions. But the floor is yours.
Hi, my name's Richard Vaughn. This is my wife, Tracy Vaughn. We've owned the jetty for 10 years now. We'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary in July. During the pandemic, the jetty, as well as many other businesses, were allowed to get creative, using our outdoor space as an extension of premises and serve food and beverage outdoors. It allowed us to be open at a time when people were not allowed to gather indoors. In the years that followed the pandemic, the governor passed several emergency bills which allowed outdoor dining to continue as far as 3/31/24. This prolonged outdoor dining assisted us in rebounding from the residual effects of COVID shutdowns, as well as pay down some of the debt that was incurred during those really hard years. During this time, the government and individuals alike began to realize the positive effects that outdoor dining had on local streetscapes and neighborhood socialization. The jetty is no different. Outdoor dining at the jetty has become part of the fabric of the Brant Rock Esplanade. We're nestled between several vacant storefronts, and the jetty has really brought color and vibrancy and life to the Esplanade. The patio at the jetty is considered a very approachable space. It can accommodate large parties without reservations. It's a place where people feel comfortable bringing their kids, their parents, and their grandparents. It's got it's got a very easygoing vibe that attracts all ages. Looking at the plan, and I think you guys have the plan. I didn't bring a blow-up of the plan. Basically, it's a big area, and the tables are spread fairly far apart, and it's just a big, comfortable area for people to come and gather, a lot of communal tables. We've got about a quarter of the proposed seats on our new elevated patio that we built about a year or two ago. Obviously, it raises the question about parking, because it does use our parking area. When we show the plan, you'll see that we've created a handicap parking spot at the front of the space, and then we've created 5 additional parking spaces behind the building off of Middle Street. So that leaves us with a net loss of 6 spaces. And I always say, people talk about parking in the Esplanade. I go to the Esplanade pretty much every day of the year, at all different times of day and night, and I've never had to go home because I couldn't find a parking spot. So parking's a premium, but there's always a spot for someone that wants to park in the Esplanade, and I don't think the loss of 6 spots is a deal killer at this time. I'd like to thank the board for seeing us on such short notice, and I'd like to thank all of the neighbors that wrote kind words of support and flooded your inboxes this weekend. But we have support from a lot of our neighbors, and a lot of our neighbors are uptight to our fence. I mean, we're not going a mile down the road. We're talking about people that live within earshot of the jetty, and they've shown real support over the years and going forward. So, without further ado, we'd like to, get approval for a permanent outdoor dining venue at the jetty.
Okay, thank you. So this is definitely one of those locations that has to have that community, you need to be, what I'm trying to say is, you need to be aware of your community, and I know based on a lot of the folks that have emailed us that you have done a fairly good job on that. I know there's probably been a few things over the years that were work in progress, right? So I am going to, before we get into a bunch of the different things that are in your packet, I'm going to read the motion because there has been a lot of work. Getting to the point of having in the motion is very extensive. So before we actually vote on the motion or tweak the motion or whatever, we have town council here to help us, and our board will, of course, ask you questions. But it just kind of sets the framework for where we're heading, okay? So I'm going to read that, which is kind of unusual that we would do that ahead of time, but as I said, it's pretty extensive, so you might want to grab your pen and here we go. So as I said, this is just a preliminary motion. It may be tweaked. So let's start here. The board may move to approve the request of Richard Vaughn of Quincy for the Jetty LLC located at 278 Ocean Street to approve outdoor table service pursuant to Chapter 88 of the Acts of 2024, Mass General Law 40A, Section 3B, with hours of operation from 11:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. April 15th through Columbus Day. From Columbus Day through April 14th, from 11:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. Any deviation from these hours of operation for outside service must be approved in advance by the Select Board. Provided further that one handicap parking space will be required on the premise, and to amend the applicant's license issued under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12. Pending sign-off from the Marshfield Police Department requires no additional conditions. I'm sorry, wait a minute. The sign-off from the Marshfield. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Yep. The Marshfield Fire Department has requested a walkthrough prior to setup to check access egress. The Building Department has requested that no aspect of the site modification should violate the floodplain bylaw. I'm going slow for you. No obstruction of structures should be allowed to be installed on site without the proper floodplain permitting. Bollards should be installed every 4 feet along the front to protect the patrons from vehicular traffic. The Board of Health requires a sufficient number of trash receptacles to be placed in the outdoor seating area to maintain cleanliness. The DPW has no additional conditions needed. Planning. Planning is requiring that the 5 spaces in the rear of the property be indicated on the site plan, and there should be at least one ADA parking space on the site. In addition, employees should be required to park in the town beach lot after 4 p.m., similar to Haddad's. The treasurer-collector requires all taxes and utilities to be current, and the decision will go into effect when filed with the Marshfield Town Clerk, and paperwork has been submitted to the ABCC by the Select Board. So as I said, this is a working draft. I have spent a lot of time looking at this. I understand that the planning board has also spent some time reviewing this and the implications, as you can see by the motion itself and the building department. Your site plan is also here in our packet, and it is referenced as existing conditions plan, sheet 1 of 1, and it was from July 28th, 2023. And it is by Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. And this actually has indicated some, you've drawn on this plan.
Yes.
Yes. So it has, if you were referencing this, you wouldn't see, if you reference that site plan, you would not see the specifics of what you've drawn on this plan that I have before me. So we had tables, low tables at 15, chairs at 30, high tops at 14, stools at 68. Your lighting is according to the bylaws, and existing to remain, okay, yep, the lighting is, and the occupancy outside is 98, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All righty. I don't know if I need to read all of these letters, or at least the names of the letters in support. I should, okay.
Probably just the, yeah, probably.
Just the names.
The
How about I
names.
do that? In support of this motion and this particular license or permit, we have Katie Doyle and Dave Spirito of 32 Ocean Street. Express our immense support. We have Pat Banda of 4 Ocean Street. Add my support to outside seating. Michael Arsenal of 68 Ocean Street. Wholeheartedly support this request, and I'm just grabbing. David Snow, 64 Ocean Street. Express my support. Tyler Samist of 4 Ocean Street. Express my support. B.A. Banda of 4 Ocean Street. Letter of support. Lisa and Jake Whiffen. Request to establish outdoor outpouring of generosity during events. Value community members. We'd love to see their continued support. Donna Gallagher, writing to show support. Jim Banda of 4 Ocean Street, support of the jetty. Denise Cody, support to permit the jetty. Elizabeth Larissy of 60 Ocean Street. I don't know if I said the previous one was 55 Ocean Street. Elizabeth Larissy, 60 Ocean Street, permanent outdoor dining, outstanding small business owners, community supporters, support. Keeps going on. Joe Cody of 55 Ocean Street, permanent outdoor. I have a home on Ocean Street. It is important that we, as a community, not only support our small business, blah, 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 in support. I'm sorry, folks, this is taking longer than I expected. Rebecca and Dana Blackman, full support. Rick Ball, 181 Ocean Street, in support. John P. Moriarty, 69 Ocean Street. Express my thoughts on permitting. Looking for only benefit the restaurant, but enhance. I believe the decision will not only benefit the restaurant, but enhance the vibrancy and charm of Brant Rock. That's a support. And you know what? That's it, and that's a lot of folks.
There's another 7 or 8 letters that are the actual immediate abutters that are
Okay.
in the original package.
Okay. So I don't believe that we received anything that was not in support of this. However, we will verbiage. All righty. So I'm just going to briefly, there's a couple other things in the record. Greg Guimond gave us his input. There's 98 seats in the proposed outside seating, and an additional, I'm sorry, the current restaurant has 98 seats, and the outside is 98, as I just described. And this is in regards to bylaws. 5 spaces, which we talked about in the, I talked about in the potential motion. Okay, before we chime in, I'd just like Bob to share with us the importance of this and how it could potentially reflect, this decision could potentially reflect on decisions in other restaurants in town. I believe there's 2 others.
So this new law came into effect on April 30th, and it has a very peculiar component to it. And the peculiar component is that the select board now decides, notwithstanding the provisions of our bylaws, whether to allow outdoor table service, where this would ordinarily be something decided by the zoning board of appeals with input from the planning board. So, and this was an amendment that was made to Chapter 40A, Section 3B. That's where the new law is codified. So ordinarily, when we have site plan approval or a special permit for a use like this, there'd be a public hearing before the zoning board of appeals. None of that is required now. It's all that needs to be done is a person needs to apply to the select board using an application and the guidance that I created for you. And you can approve these in a public meeting. And the effect of your approval can be to authorize outdoor table service without alcohol, or it can be to include alcohol. And either way, it doesn't require a public hearing. It can be done in a public meeting. And when the decision is made and filed with the town clerk and sent to the ABCC, it can have the effect of altering a site plan and authorizing outdoor service of alcoholic beverages. Before this time, the chief of police and I had generated some guidelines when we had outdoor service, basically intended to create some guidance for you all so that alcoholic beverages weren't carted off-site or served to minors and things of that nature. So some of the things that I had suggested before, I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. Some of the things that I had suggested as conditions here or potential conditions in the guidance are incorporated as suggested conditions when you're deciding this issue tonight. Everything you've heard tonight is within the scope of the parameters of allowing it. I still think it makes sense for you to have input from the other town officials that have previously given input, including the planning board, ZBA, the building inspector, the police chief, the treasurer collector for the payment of taxes, because we don't issue permits and approvals unless everybody's current, and probably even the Board of Health. And I think you've got some of that input tonight, and you're expected to provide whatever weight you think is appropriate, and then decide whether this is an appropriate thing to do to authorize outdoor table service. And when you do that, it has the effect of altering the existing site plan approval. So I expect you're going to see this more frequently now that you have this authority, because it's much easier to go to the select board than it is to go through the whole public hearing process with the zoning board of appeals or the planning board or anybody else. So I think this is something you're going to see on a more regular basis. So I think you just have to use your best judgment as to what fits where and what conditions should be imposed, and decide whether this is a good idea or a bad idea, or if it's a good idea, what conditions can you impose on it to protect the neighborhood, to have this service held safely. For example, I think there's some suggestion for bollards here. When you have outdoor table service and you're close to a roadway, there's always the possibility of someone having an accident because they're distracted, and you wouldn't want anybody to be unintentionally hurt. So we have some examples of outdoor table service already. The Ocean House, which used to be Station 8, came to us several years ago, and the Select Board granted a license and authorized a portion of the sidewalk to be used for outdoor table service. They went to the Zoning Board of Appeals because that was the requirement at the time and got approval for an outdoor seating area, and then the Select Board authorized the extension of licensed premises to include that licensed area. The Marsh also has it, an outdoor seating area. They went through the more traditional route, but I think now you'll see restaurants that have some area outside that is useful to come to you instead of going to the ZBA.
Okay. As you know, I was on the ZBA, so does the existing site plan and special permit, does it just goes away?
No, it's modified by whatever decision you make.
It's modified, so when they record it, that's recorded, and is that the process?
Typically, you won't record this decision. It'll just be filed with the town clerk and sent to the ABCC if it involves alcohol. It's not a special permit.
Okay,
It's not required to obtain a special permit. You don't even have to get a variance anymore.
okay, interesting.
It's literally something that can exist if the Select Board thinks it's appropriate.
Okay. So then, our bylaws, will those need to be changed to
No.
reflect this?
All new licenses will have to go through the typical process.
Okay.
But people that have an existing license, existing special permit, an existing licensed premises can come this route as an alternative.
Okay. Well, it certainly simplifies the
It's
process.
intended to simplify and expedite the approval process.
Right,
Normally, say, for example, the Marsh, when they got their outdoor patio area approved, they had to wait till the ABCC approved this. The ABCC doesn't get involved now in the local approval process. They reserve the right to do that, but your decision is basically the final decision that gets made unless and until the ABCC feels differently, which is something they reserve the right to do, but probably will not be doing.
okay. So I think I've shared the microphone a lot, so would you like to ask some questions? And
Sure, just a couple comments. I mean,
Okay.
we've received a lot of letters of support, and emails of support over the last several days for you guys, and a lot of those folks are close neighbors, so I think it says a lot about how tied in you are to the community and respectful of your neighbors and that you're being good neighbors. And I'm glad that you guys have been there for, almost 10 years, because before that, that was a tough spot, and it was a turnstile for different restaurants. We had 3 restaurants in a very short period of time, so, I'm glad you've been successful so far, and we want to make sure you continue to be successful, so I would support you guys for this application.
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you. And Eric?
Excuse me. Yeah, I've been looking at this and reviewing the, what we passed for the outdoor, permanent outdoor dining. In my opinion, this is not what I envisioned in regards to the permanent outdoor dining. This is way too large in scale, in my opinion. I don't know what the future ramifications will be, if any at all. And I certainly don't want to hamstring a future select board in regards to this. If it was something more like the current patio you have, I could see that, but this is too grand for me to give you a yes on. I do have my concerns, especially between the planning building, having their concerns with it. I can't, in my good conscience, go with a permanent outdoor seating on this grand of a scale. It's way too big, in my opinion.
Okay. I have read this motion multiple times. I've discussed it and with Michael, and I believe he relayed some of the comments that I had to the different departments as well. So I'm comfortable with the motion as it reads. I just wanted to just touch on one more point before I proceed with a motion. So when you are coming in off the street to your outdoor seating, based on your plans you provided, there'll be a person at that location to greet people and take names and see
Exactly.
people? Can you explain that
What we've done in the
quickly?
past, and we'll have to change it to make it, to use the bollards or the Jersey barriers for safety purposes. But what we had done in the past was we used crowd control barriers and a snow fence. We brought it all the way around to create about a 6-foot or an 8-foot opening at the front door, and that's where the hostess station goes.
Okay. So, and then the timing for this as well. So it has our evening seating, based on this motion, to be from 11:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. How would you make that work with your ordering to get folks outside, off that patio by 10 p.m.?
So the kitchen closes at 9,
Okay,
and then we just have it wrapped up by 10.
okay. Michael, would you like to add anything? Because I know you've...
I think that, I think we've addressed those. The biggest concern, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the Vaughns, I did have a conversation with them about the checkpoint, because when people are outside, the biggest issue is to make sure that the establishment is keeping in control who's there, how they're getting in there, and making sure that liquor isn't being passed over the outside area. When it's inside, it's self-contained within the building. When it's outside, so the Vaughns are gonna have a person stationed out there, and as he described, there's an area to get in and to monitor. That's the only way in and out, and they'll have staff outside. So that's the big thing, making sure that alcohol's not leaving the premise.
Right, exactly. Okay, well, I'm okay. You're good
Good,
with the
yep.
motions as written, because I said we may do this. Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request of Richard Vaughn of Quincy for the Jetty LLC located at 278 Ocean Street to approve outdoor table service pursuant to Chapter 88 of the Acts of 2024, Mass General Laws 40A, Section 3B, with hours of operation from 11:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. And I'm going to emphasize and add that 10 p.m. is when it's cleared. You're, okay? April 15th through Columbus Day. From Columbus Day through April 14th, from 11:30 a.m. until 7 p.m., and any deviation from these hours of operation for outside service must be approved in advance by the Select Board. Provided further that one handicap parking space will be required on the premise, and to amend the applicant's license issued under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, pending sign-off from the Marshfield Police Department, requires no additional conditions. The MFD has requested a walkthrough prior to setup to check access egress. The building department has requested that no aspect of the site modification should violate the floodplain bylaw. No obstruction or structure should be allowed to be installed on site without the proper floodplain permitting. Bollards should be installed every 4 feet along the front to protect the patrons from vehicular traffic. And you also mentioned that you will have a snow fence with that, so people can't be going in and out.
There'll be some sort of barrier, snow fence,
I'm
kind of like
going
we've done
to-
the past 4 or 5 years.
I'm going to add that in here. How do I best do that, Michael?
Bollards and some type of fencing should be
Continuous barrier.
installed.
And a fence barrier,
Yep.
a 4-foot fence. Bollards should be installed every 4 feet with a 4-foot,
It won't be 4 feet high, I don't think. So maybe a continuous crowd control barrier.
okay. Since we have our chief, can I ask him that
Yes.
question? Can you, what's the security, is it a 4-foot or a 3-foot fence if there's bollards?
So there
Is it
isn't
for-
any.
there isn't, okay.
No, it just, in some of the one-day liquor license that you approve.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a rope.
Okay.
It's a roped-off area, but, in the
In this
entire
case?
time that they've been doing the outside seating, they haven't had any liquor law violations,
Okay,
and we haven't had anybody injured there that I'm aware of.
so if we leave it alone, the bollards should be installed every 4 feet, and then they do whatever, snow fence, whatever it is that you have,
that prevents people from leaving with drinks.
That's my concern.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, so with a fence, I'm just going to leave that with a fence. Okay, Michael?
Yes.
4 feet with a fence along the front to protect the patrons from vehicular traffic. The BOH requires a sufficient number of trash receptacles to be placed in the outdoor seating area to maintain cleanliness. The DPW has no additional conditions needed. Planning is requiring that 5 spaces in the rear of the property be indicated on the site plan, and there should be at least 1 ADA parking space on the site. In addition, employees should be required to park in the town beach lot after 4 PM, similar to Hadad's. The treasurer collector requires all taxes and utilities to be current. The decision will go into effect when filed with the Marshfield Town Clerk, and paperwork has been submitted to the ABCC by the Select Board. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, before I second, could we just hear from town council one last time?
Sure.
I would suggest, because we did have a complaint before about lighting, that all exterior lighting be turned off when the outdoor area is closed. And I would also recommend, because of the issues in Brant Rock, that any and all trash shall be disposed of in a secure dumpster or trash receptacle, so that there are no issues with critters.
I don't know where their existing trash receptacle is. Is it fenced off from
So
that
we have a dumpster in a fenced-off area on the
fenced
rear
off
of the
area?
building.
Okay. So I will amend the last portion of this motion to read to the ABCC by the Select Board, period. All exterior lighting.
Could I address the lighting situation? I mean, it's our walkway, we've got safety lighting. We did get a complaint about lighting at one point, we modified it. We had the building inspector come out and check the lumens. All of our lighting is on our side of the fence below 6 feet. I think I show some pictures up here of some of the other lighting in the neighborhood that the building inspector kind of thought that might have been more the culprit than the lighting that is tight to our fence at 5 feet.
I know there's a lighting bylaw, so how would that, so if this is, all of these things are a work in progress, correct?
I think there was a time where there was exterior lighting that was above the height of the fence, and I do believe it's been modified.
Okay.
But just because we're establishing a change in conditions, I thought the condition ought to be there, that it be turned off, and that basically be shielded down the way they've done it, and that the trash be not stored outside and placed in the dumpsters.
So I believe I saw Andrew Stewart here. Hi, before we work on, we're still working on this motion. Could you just go to the podium for a second? Introduce yourself.
Andrew Stewart, Building Commissioner and Floodplain Administrator.
Thank you. Can you just, I know you're familiar with this particular site and the lighting for this site. So if we were to shut off the exterior lighting that is on the perimeter, which is, I think, what Bob is alluding to, correct? Would that cause a safety concern in, that they couldn't?
No, if you eliminated
Rectify.
the string perimeter lighting that they have along the fence, then I do not believe that would create any kind of a safety concern. However, any of the shielded downcast lighting that they have around the building, any of the exterior lighting that they have for the exits, that should not be shut off until everybody is out of the building. I don't think they shut that off until about 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning.
So if they were just to shut off the string lighting, am I correct?
That would have
Okay.
no effect. That's kind of ambient lighting.
Okay. So if that was the condition of this, to shut off your string lighting?
Sure.
At the time that the patio is vacated? Okay. Bob, is that all right?
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the building lighting that's required to be there by the state building codes. Those should all be able to remain. I'm just talking about the lighting for the exterior area so that it's shielded down and it doesn't get onto abutting properties.
Okay. You want to just do that motion for me, Bob?
Yeah.
And then we'll.
Well,
fix that.
the additional condition would be that any exterior lighting other than the lighting that's required on the building be turned off when the patio or outdoor table area is no longer in use and shall be shielded down. And then on the trash condition would be, all trash shall be removed from the outdoor table area and disposed of properly in the site dumpsters.
Okay, I would like to adopt that into the very ending of our motion. Are you comfortable with that? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to second that, please.
Second?
Motion been made and duly second. A roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Nay.
2 in the positive, 1 in the negative. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much.
Thank you
Welcome.
very much.
Appreciate it.
Would you be comfortable doing 5 and then 4?
I think we also have, yes, let's do that. So what time is it? I know we have advisory, we're already at 7 o'clock. Do we have Joseph Zambello here this evening? Yes. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a discussion and vote to appoint Joseph Zambello as representative to the South Shore Regional Vocational School District School Committee. Michael, can you share with us this particular appointment?
Yes.
Thank you.
So as folks know from watching, Marshfield last year joined the 8 other towns, Abington, Cohasset, Hanover, Hanson, Norwell, Rockland, Situate, and Whitman, regarding the South Shore Technical Regional Vocational School. As part of that, we become an official member on July 1. That organization has their own school committee, and each of the towns, well, now that we're joined, there's 9, has a representative on the school committee that is appointed by the select board. So tonight, we would be appointing our representative, who would take over as of July 1, will become an official member, and they would be required to attend school committee meetings. They would work with the select board on channeling information back and forth to the select board, the town administrator, the school committee, the superintendent of schools, et cetera, on those important matters that we need to be updated on. And I did speak to the superintendent today via email, and he's very excited that the town of Marshfield's moving forward with the appointment, and he very much wants to get together with whoever we appoint to get them up to speed on the whole process. There'll be a lot of things happening. They're finalizing the design of the school. There'll be a question on the ballot for all of the 9 towns in January, so a lot of different things going on.
So your resume is attached to our binder, and your letter that you are willing and able to serve, so I appreciate your interest, and your resume is over the top, so, and you have a degree in education. And so why don't you just share with us, just so we're kind of running a little bit behind, but just share with us the importance of your role here and why you want to do this.
Yeah, first, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to serve the community. I think that it's an honor to be sitting here and hopefully representing Marshfield as we move forward in the vocational school arena. As Ms. Fiddler said, I have an educational background. I'm certified to teach in Massachusetts. Spent the majority of my career in financial services in a variety of roles. And I think based upon the experience and the educational background I have, I'm hoping that I can be a real force for the town of Marshfield as we go forward. And I think it's important, to have opportunities for kids to go the traditional educational route to college, but also to work in some of the areas of the trades. And so I think it's fabulous that Marshfield's offering this. And as I said, I really thank you guys for the opportunity for letting me serve. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm sure, we're a member now, so it makes sense to have representation, so I support this.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
I was just curious, how did you come to know about the position being open?
Yeah, so
I didn't even know that.
And the good news is I have some folks that are in the town of Marshfield, made the opportunity aware to me. And again, I think I have kind of a unique background, having spent, some of my early years in education and having that background there, and many years in financial services, along with doing consulting work and that nature. It kind of is a nice fit. I will say, I have been looking for opportunities to give back to the town since I moved here in 2017. So this is actually a perfect fit for me to try to work with folks within the town of Marshfield and really bring us, to the next level in any way I can actually help. So I'm not sure if I answered your question. If I didn't, you certainly could ask it again, but that's what I'm hoping to do, work with you guys in any way I can to get things done.
No, just, you answered it somewhat, but, because I was unapprised of, did anyone else know that Rich Greer was not running again, or did you give a notice in regards to he had no interest in?
I didn't know.
anything.
All right. Your resume is very impressive.
Thank you.
I just reading it between the, it looks like he had a lot of cost savings for Fidelity. It seems like they are, they owe you a great deal, it appears, and all that. And I'm hoping, looking at it, I'm like, when I was reading this, I go, you could be the person that we're looking for, especially where they're looking to build a multi-million-dollar school.
Yeah, so, you, for me, you hit right on what I think I can help with, which is, we're gonna spend, the community's going to spend money, the kids are going to get the great education, but we obviously want our dollars worth, right? So we're going to do the right way. If I can contribute on the board, that'll be my contribution, not just sitting there as a figurehead, but in fact, I think I can help these guys with a lot of the cost benefits and so forth.
Yeah, costs, I would look at, I reached out to the Superintendent Hickey last week. I haven't heard back from regards to hopefully meeting them this week. But I do have my concerns in regards to what they plan for the school. So the whole thing is that everybody likes options. And it seems like our options are being limited for some reason until I find out and sit down and talk with them. But that's one way of potential cost savings. But the whole thing is that we don't know what our options are and like that. So seeing that you could be in that position, you can get a little more detailed information, maybe pass it along, especially in regards to this. But looking at this and in your experience and all that, as of right now, I don't see a problem. Hopefully, you will be a positive entity for Marshfield, especially in regards to this potential new building that the South Shore Boat Tech wants to put up, and we'll see you put your number to work there for us and see what we can come up with.
Yep.
That's it.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you being here this evening. I look forward to working with you
You as well.
and hearing the good stuff that you're going to be privy to in all these meetings. So I'd like to make a motion that the board moves to appoint Joseph Zambello as the town of Marshfield's representative to the South Shore Regional Vocational School District School Committee, effective July 1st, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right.
Unanimous vote to approve Joseph Zambello to the representative to the South Shore Regional Vocational School District.
Okay, Steve, you wanted me to go to 4?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. So, number 4 is a discussion and vote on film production application, ATS Productions LLC. I've looked at it. The problem is that it's in our season of, it's a Friday and Saturday. I've read it. It seems like they're working through that possibility of a busy Saturday. Usually Friday's not as bad, but
Yeah.
you want to add, that's the only thing that I was drawn to.
Yeah, totally. That makes total sense. I think it's only 2 days, and it's always great to have local exposure for the town. So I understand it'll be kind of tough for 2 days, but for the aforementioned reasons, I'd be in support of it.
Okay, Eric?
I don't see a problem with it.
All right. Michael, do you have anything to add?
Just that they're going to be required to have police details because it is busy. They are working with the police department to make sure they have the police details, but, they need to be protective of the dunes. We have the piping plovers, et cetera. So they'll work with Cindy Castro, our beach administrator, and staff down there to make sure that they're not causing any damage to the habitat down there.
Yeah, and our motion reflects that, correct? Yes. Okay. Well, the board moves to approve the film production application for ATS Production LLC out of Randolph for filming at Rexham Beach on June 21st, June 21st and the 22nd, 2024, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The police and beaches are requiring the details be hired each day of the filming, and the ATS will pay the normal fee for parking at Rexham for each of their vehicles. The film crew is cognizant of the wildlife and sensitive species in the dunes and have found other locations to protect the wildlife, pending sign-off from Marshfield Police Department, Beaches, and Marshfield Fire Department. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the film production application for ATS Productions for June 21st and June 22nd.
Okay, number 2 is a discussion vote on permission to accept donation, and that's the Council on Aging. Do we have any questions or comments?
No.
Eric?
No.
Okay. The Select Board moves to approve a donation on behalf of the Council on Aging in the amount of $100 from Deborah A. Rafferty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept the donation on behalf of the council.
Okay, and now moving down to number 6 is the board moves to accept a donation of flower planters for Town Hall from Michael Maresco with a value of $85.17. Questions or comments?
No.
Eric?
No.
Okay. And I will repeat that. The board moves to accept a donation of flower planters for Town Hall from Michael Maresco with a value of $85.17. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept the donation.
Okay, thank you. And then we're going back to number 3, which is the Town of Marshfield proclamation. And this is something that this is a discussion and vote to proclaim June 2024 as Pride Month in the Town of Marshfield. And I am in support of this, and I'd like to read this into the record. Town of Marshfield proclamation, Pride Month, June 2024. Whereas the Select Board recognizes that the pursuit of equality, respect, and inclusion for all individuals is an attainable goal. And whereas all people are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and no one should live in fear or face persecution and violence arising from sexual orientation or gender identity. And whereas the Town of Marshfield takes pride in and celebrates the diversity of the citizens who make up our community. And whereas the Town of Marshfield is a welcoming and inclusive community for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals and couples to live and raise a family. And whereas the Town of Marshfield is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all of our citizens and preventing discrimination and mistreatment based on sexual orientation or gender identity. And whereas celebrating Pride Month increases awareness and is an opportunity to engage in dialogue, to strengthen alliances and build understanding and acceptance. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Select Board, proclaim the month of June 2024 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, LGBTQ plus month in the Town of Marshfield. And that is our proclamation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Okay, 2-1 vote to proclaim June 24th as Pride Month in the Town of Marshfield.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to number 8, correct?
Yes.
We're getting there, us advisory board, we're almost there. This is discussion vote on annual board and committee reappointments and other annual appointments for terms expiring on June 30th, 2024. And I will read these. The following people whose current terms expire on June 30th, 2024 have requested reappointment for a 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2027 and have submitted signed Corey forms. Gregory Cayley, trustee of Ventris Memorial Library. Lori Dalen, Agricultural Commission. Thomas Whalen, Revolutionary War Honor Roll Committee. James Murrin, Revolutionary War Honor Roll Committee. That will be one motion. And the following people whose current terms expire on June 30th, 2024 have requested reappointment for a 1-year term expiring on June 30th, 2025 and have submitted signed Corey forms, and that's Cynthia Cressel, Town Historian. Any comments or?
No.
Any comments?
Just one. I was just wondering, are any of these people on any other committee?
Michael, can you help to answer that, if that's relevant?
I'm not aware. Greg, I believe, is only on trustees, if I remember correctly. Laurie is on agriculture. I mean, Kate, if I'm wrong, just jump right in. I know Tom Whelan, I think he's only on Revolutionary War right now, and James Murrin. So I think they're just all on one.
It's all on one, so
Yep.
there's no crossover to any other boards or anything like that, so, all right, I'm good with it.
Okay, thank you. Eric, okay, so this is 2 motions. The board moves to reappoint the following individuals: Gregory Cayley to the trustees of Ventris Memorial Library, Lori Dalen to the Agricultural Commission, Thomas Whalen, Revolutionary War Honor Roll Committee, James Murrin to the Revolutionary War Honor Roll Committee, whose current terms expire on June 30th, 2024, and who have requested to be reappointed for a 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2027, and have submitted a signed Corey form. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to reappoint.
Okay, and this is the second motion. The board moves to reappoint Cynthia Cressel to the position of Town Historian, whose current term expires on June 30th, 2024, and has requested to be reappointed for a 1-year term expiring on June 30th, 2024, and has submitted a signed Corey form. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to reappoint Cynthia Cressel as the historian.
Okay, and I believe this is lastly, the board moves to approve the meeting minutes from May 20th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Okay, motion to approve 2-1, and it passes.
Okay, seeing no further business on the agenda, the Select Board will now move to the joint meeting of the Advisory Board and Select Board regarding the special town meeting for June 24th, 2024, and will adjourn at the conclusion of the joint meeting. And I'd like to welcome the chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Do a 5-minute. 5-minute recess.
I'll make a motion for a 5-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded for a 5-minute recess. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
5-minute recess, and we return to the joint meeting.